on out of group clickable. Blind Adam host. Banner button awesome button clickable mainland grouping on out of grouping clickable button clickable. Blind Adam host.
Awesome sauce! Hi everyone, this is Blind Adam the Comic Pimp. This is Awesome Sauce Radio. Yes, I know this episode is going to look shittier than normal, but don't have any men in the chair tonight. And to my homie David Nemesis Howard, my thoughts and prayers are with you, brother. I want to give a big shout out to Comic Crusaders, www.comiccrusaders.com. Check them out. They're awesome. Great pop culture and comic book news source. Also, want to say, if you're in New York City on November 23rd, check out the Big Apple Comic Con. Big Apple Comic Con is New Yorker Hotel, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Don't know what the admission price is. For your Big Apple Comic Book convention needs, BigAppleCC.com. Tell them about that on site. Yeah. Also, want to give a shout out to Exotica Expo. The Exotica Expo returns December 6th, 7th, and 8th to Washington, D.C. And I did not know Washington, D.C. included Virginia, but that's not my problem. But they're going to have everything you want there: porn stars, seminars, meet and greets, orgies, all that good stuff. Tell them about that on www.exotica.com. And I also want to give a shout out to Happy Comics, happycomics.com. They have a cherry Pop-Tart #1, exclusive to 100 copies, or 1,000 copies, excuse me, I'm a dumbass. My cherry Pop-Tart #1, signed by Cherry Wells, creator Larry Wells of Cherry Pop-Tart, happycomics.com. Tell them what I'm saying. Now that we got all the business out of the way, we are going to bring in our guest for this evening. He's an activist, a pro wrestler, an actor, a character. Vinny, Guido, what's up, sir?
What's going on? What's going on, brother? How you doing, man?
I am doing good.
Why don't you tell people how you and I met?
I don't know. Let's see. I was half asleep at the Tornado the Movie booth at Exotica, New Jersey. And I just heard you and Ellie and Rob talking, and then I just said hello.
Yep. Yeah, we met at the Exotica Expo. I dress up in cosplay. I dress up as a Magnum condom, a human-sized Magnum condom, and I do cosplay as Magnum Man, the human Magnum condom at the Exotica Expo.
All right. Hey, hold 1 second, sirs. You have to explain to me the origins of the Magnum condom, because I was just like, okay, what the hell is this? When Rob explained it to me.
Yep, and I'm going to be making a cameo appearance as Magnum Man, the human Magnum condom, in the Tornado movie, actually. So looking forward to that. But before we even film that, we're going to be filming Sugar Wafer, which is another film by Alien Rob. And I'm very well looking forward to filming that movie. It's going to be really good.
I actually think you and I wind up playing arch nemesis in that movie somehow.
Yes, I believe so. I'm playing
Burner, or whatever the name of the lumberyard owner is.
Yep. And I'm playing Agent Dario Napone in the movie. So
everyone go check out Tornado the Movie and Paranormal Ale, or just Google Alien Rob, and all like 500 of his other aliases should pop up.
Yep, that's right.
But Sugar Wafer, I think Sugar Wafers is going to be a blast. Tornado,
can't wait.
Comes to fruition eventually, because I remember when Rob came up with the concept, like almost 10 to 15 years ago now. And love that guy, and I just want to see one of his projects pop.
Yep. And we're going to make it pop indeed, actually. It's going to be really good.
Yep. So how did you come up with Magnum the condom, man?
Well, it was funny. Many years ago, I was looking online on how, because I didn't even think that they sold it in stores or anything, because I couldn't find it anywhere. So I was looking up ways of how to create my own Halloween costume, and I was trying to find out how to go about making my own condom costume, and as when I looked it up, they were actually selling it online, and I'm like, oh my god, I don't even have to make this shit. I was like, this is great. So I bought the Magnum. It was the Magnum condom wrapper costume, and then on another website they had the condom hat They had the condom hat on another website. So I ended up, because I figured you can't have one without the other. You got to have the condom and the condom wrapper. So so I got both,
Yeah,
and
fucking hysterical.
yeah, and from there, I mean, it had a lot of wear and tear, so I bought like two more. I bought like two. I bought two more. I had a total of 3 costumes altogether. And over the years, when one deteriorates, I wear the other one. And then when that one deteriorated, I was down to my last one, and now I'm literally down to my last one because they discontinued it. They don't make it anymore. And after I wore it a few years at Halloween events and stuff, and trust me, every time I entered every Halloween when I used to go to nightclubs and stuff, every time that there was a Halloween costume contest, I would win every year. So I used to win all these prizes and stuff, entering these contests and stuff. And then my wife told me, and I swear to God, this was her idea. You know, I was, because it was a joke. Like I sent her, because my friends were attending the Exotica back when it was in Atlantic City, New Jersey. And I sent it to my wife. I said, honey, my friends are attending this. And she's like, oh my God, we should go. And I'm like, you're kidding me. She goes, no, I'm serious. We should go to this. I was like, okay, absolutely. And she's like, and she goes, and honey, you got the I was like, you don't even have to say it. I said, I'm gonna dress up in cosplay as the Magnum Man, as Magnum Man, the human Magnum condom. And she goes, absolutely. So her and I, we go to the Exotica Expo every year in Edison, New Jersey, because we celebrate our anniversary, and we also celebrate our birthdays on that weekend. So we go every year when it comes to Edison, New Jersey, and I'm going to make an announcement right here on your show.
Okay.
This
whatever
the very next Exotica Expo, when it comes to Edison, New Jersey, whether it be at the end of October or the beginning of November, whenever they have the date, whenever they set the dates.
The dates are, I know like the Exotica Expo hasn't announced them yet, but if you go to the New Jersey Convention Expo Center, the dates are 2025 are up. They're October 26th, 27th, 28th. It's just like a 1 day removed from this year.
Okay.
That may change, but those are the 10 other dates that I'm seeing on the New Jersey Expo Center so far.
All right. Oh, that's awesome. All right. See, I didn't even know that. That's news to me. That's great. Well, that year, starting next year at the Exotica Expo, is going to be my very last time dressing up in cosplay as Magnum Man, the human Magnum condom. I'm going to be retiring the costume at that event. So it's going to be a huge ceremony. I already spoke to the people that run the stage and everything there, and I'm going to be retiring my costume in a ceremony on stage that Saturday night at the Exotica Expo. Like, you know how mixed martial artists and boxers, how they retire their gloves in the ring?
Yep.
I'm going to be retiring my costume on the stage in grand fashion.
That's awesome. Speaking of fights, you gonna be checking out Mike Tyson kicking the crap out of Jake Paul tomorrow night?
Mike Tyson's gonna knock him out, man. It's and if he doesn't, then it's gonna. I'll tell you right now, if Mike Tyson doesn't knock him out, it's probably gonna be a fixed fight, because I don't see Jake Paul ever beating Mike Tyson in a legit fight. I just don't see it.
Neither do I, especially the way that Jake was running his mouth about his daughter and everything.
I swear to God, if Jake Paul wins, then you know that shit is fake. So I just don't see how he could legit beat Mike Tyson. It's just not happening. Not in real life, anyway.
Yeah, I see maybe Jake lasting. I would like to see this be a vintage Tyson fight from the mid 80s, where he just knocks him out in 20 seconds. Come on, it's Netflix. It's not like you're paying $50 pay-per-views like you were back in the day.
I mean, if you get hit by Mike Tyson, it's basically like getting mauled with a brick. Like you're getting knocked the fuck out if you get punched by Mike Tyson. It's that simple.
Oh yeah, basically everyone should go back. I forget what stand-up roast it was in, but it's the one where I think it was the roast of Charlie scene where Steve-O asked Mike Tyson to punch him, and he almost knocked Steve-O from Jackass the fuck out.
Oh man.
So you're a pro wrestler. How did you get involved with pro wrestling?
Many years ago, back in 2005. I mean, I've always been around the business pretty much my whole life. My dad used to be very good friends with Chief Jay Strongbow, God rest his soul.
Yeah.
He used to be good friends with Bobby Rydell and a whole bunch of other people in the pro wrestling industry when I was a kid. So I used to get backstage as a kid. I'm talking about when WWF used to have their wrestling shows in high school gymnasiums. Before, you know what I mean? Like I'm talking about like when I was a kid. Ever since I was 5 years old, I watched pro wrestling with my dad all the time. And so I've been around the business my whole life practically. And it's funny because even they used to tell my dad all the time, I could see your son doing this when he gets older. And then sure enough, I got into the business in 2005. I went to Victory Pro Wrestling School. They don't have a school anymore, but the promotion is still around. I went to Victory Pro Wrestling School, and then Johnny Rodz, the world of unpredictable wrestling in Dumbo, Brooklyn. His students used to wrestle on the VPW shows. So Johnny Rodz used to come to the shows to watch his students. And Johnny Rodz, he saw the old school manager in me. And I was greener than shit when I first started. And Johnny basically took me under his wing, and he also trained me here and there at the World of Unpredictable Wrestling in Brooklyn as well. So I was training at both Victory Pro Wrestling and World of Unpredictable Wrestling with Johnny Rodz too. So and then from there it's all history. I mean, the very first my debut when I first started managing in Victory Pro Wrestling, I was the manager for Matt Morgan against Xavier, God rest Xavier's soul. Xavier. Now, anybody who follows Ring of Honor, Xavier was the second Ring of Honor world champion in history. So,
back when Ring of Honor actually was a product worth watching.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Back in the days when they were having Dave Meltzer, you could suck a bag of dicks since you watered this phrase down so hard that it sucks monkey balls. Back when five-star matches actually meant something. When you were having those classics between AJ Styles and fucking Samoa Joe, and then when CM Punk before he became all corporate.
Yep. Tyler Black, you had who's now Seth Rollins in WWE. It was Kevin Steen, which is Kevin Owens in WWE now. You also had Bryan Danielson when he was in it. You had
Bryan Danielson when he was
El Generico, which is now Sami Zayn in WWE.
That's what he was back in Ring of Honor.
Yes. Yep.
I couldn't pinpoint it. I had to go back and start watching old school Ring of Honor. Just because.
Yeah. Yeah. Look up El Generico matches on YouTube. You'll see.
No, I will, because Team My Vision got to a point where, if I take one wrong hit to the head, I'll just lose whatever vision I have left.
One of the greatest matches that I attended. Oh yeah, one of the greatest matches that I actually attended at the Hammerstein Ballroom was Kevin Steen versus El Generico in a ladder match. That match was one of the best matches in the history of Ring of Honor. That match was insane. I'm talking about this is before they went to WWE, where WWE watered down the shit. But this is like Kevin Steen versus El Generico in a ladder match during Ring of Honor, man. Like, that was insane.
All right, I will search that out because that sounds amazing.
Oh yeah.
Actually, Kevin Owens now, he just seems kind of. I kind of wish he would go back to the Indies because he just seems so held back.
He was great in Ring of Honor. My God.
So, what is better to perform as, a heel or a face?
To me, it really doesn't matter. I mean, my entire career I've been a heel, but that's only because promoters tell me if something's not broken, don't fix it. So, I mean, I could do just as good as face as I am heel. I've been a heel my entire career, though, and promoters just don't want to make me face at all, like, ever. I mean, I've gotten some death threats. There's been some states I went to, and I've actually gotten death threats from fans. Like,
what, bro?
Yeah, like
what can Vinny the Guido get death threats for outside of the New York City area, bro?
Well, I almost died in Philly one year. I don't know if you remember when the Yankees beat the Phillies in the World Series back in 2009.
Oh, yeah, I did.
So I did a wrestling show in North Philadelphia at the time. It was in one of those Catholic high school gymnasiums, right?
Oh, fuck.
And we did a wrestling show. It was like literally like 2 days shy of the World Series parade when it was in New York City. So the wound was still fresh in Philadelphia. So you can see where this is going, right? So,
okay.
So I grabbed the microphone and go,
right,
hey!
Talking about Philadelphia and Phillies, like they don't deserve it.
Yeah. So basically, I pulled the wool over their eyes, and they were very, very angry. So I grabbed the microphone. I was like, hey, this is my first time in Philly. I am so excited to be here. I said, when I got here, I was told that there was going to be lots of traffic and there was going to be lots of people everywhere, especially over at Pat's and Gino's. I said, I heard there was going to be traffic and people everywhere. I said, but when I got here, I couldn't help but notice that the streets are dead. I said, where did everybody go, man? I said, the street, there's nobody around. I said, where did everybody go? I was like, wait a minute. Didn't you guys have some kind of parade or something? I was like, oh, that's right. I was like, they had the World Series parade in New York City this year, and New York Yankees beat your Philadelphia Phillies. And they went fucking batshit. They were like, motherfucker, you're going to die. And they're like throwing full bottles at my head and shit. And you could see the priest in the corner doing like 1,000 Hail Marys, praying I make it out of there alive and shit. I was like, yeah, I literally said that. I was like, wait a minute. I said, weren't you guys supposed to have some kind of parade? I was like, So they were all mad and pissed off at that. They were throwing full bottles at my head. They weren't even empty. Like, they were just like winging shit at me. Food, garbage. It was like more garbage in the ring than there was in a trash can. They were angry. So I grabbed the microphone again. I was like, whoa, hold on a minute. Whoa, hold on a minute, people. I was like, I apologize. I completely forgot where I was. Please forgive me. I was way out of line. I'm sorry. I didn't realize that the wound is that fresh still. I was like, I'm sorry. please forgive me. I was way out of line. I'm sorry. I said, but you know what? I said, you Philadelphians really should be used to this by now. Us New Yorkers, we smoke Phillies. I said, we smoke Phillies all the time. And they were like, motherfucker, get it? Because, smoking Philly blunts with weed and shit, So forget it. Some fat guy hopped over the guardrails. Security had to tackle him and shit. They were like, you're going to fucking die. You're going to fucking die. And blah, blah, blah. Oh, there was like a full-scale riot going on in that arena right there.
Nice.
And to make a long story short, at the end of the night, in the main event, I got my ass kicked by everybody in the ring. I got steel chair shots like by multiple people and shit. So you figure the crowd would have went home happy because they cheered like really, really loud when I got my ass handed to me. So, we figured, the crowd went home happy, right? So at the end of the night, it was like 2.5 hours after the show was over. I figured, okay, it's safe to go now, So the ring was packed up. It was already gone out of the arena. So I go to grab my bags to go walk to my car. And security goes, whoa, hold on a minute. Where are you going? I said, I'm going to my car. They go, oh, no, don't go out there. You're going to die. I was like, what are you talking about, man? The show's over. He goes, do you have any idea what you said on that microphone? I said, they're waiting for you outside to leave the building.
Damn.
And I'm like, what am I supposed to do? And he goes, well, the cops are on their way. I was like, you got to be kidding me. He goes, look, man. He goes, what you said is going to get us all killed. He goes, you got to wait until the cops get here. So the cops get there, and they come into the gym, and they tell the security guards, they're like, hey, what is with all the commotion going on outside? He goes, well, this guy said something on the microphone, and they got all mad or whatever. So the cops come over to me. They go, what did you say on the microphone? I said, look, man, I was just doing my job, all right? I was like, I just want to get in my car and I want to go home. I live in Long Island. I got about a 2.5 hour drive ahead of me. And the cop's like, yeah, but he goes, there's people angry outside. They're waiting to like basically kill you. I was like, well, I said, look, man, there's got to be like a back door or some shit that I can get out of. He says they're literally surrounding the building. You're not getting out of here. He goes, what did you say on that microphone so we can understand, what we're dealing with? I said, look, man, I don't want to talk about it. I just want to get in my car and leave. He's like, you got to let us know. I said, look, man, if I tell you, you have to promise me you're not going to beat my ass because you guys are cops. And I know you know how to beat ass and not fucking leave marks and shit. So I was like, I don't want to tell you because I'm afraid you're going to get fucking pissed and beat my ass. And they're like, you have to tell us. I was like, all right, fine. So I told the cops everything that happened. And one of the cops goes to the car and says, I'll be right back. And I talked to his partner. I go, where's he going? He goes, I don't know. So he comes back with a bulletproof vest and he goes, here, wear this. I was like, are you kidding me? He goes, look, man, this shit's going to get us all killed. He goes, you have to wear this bulletproof vest. It's the only way we're going to get you out of here alive.
That's awesome. That's like the greatest behind the scenes wrestling story I ever heard. We're going to bring in Evan. What's this dude's last name?
So to make a long story short, the cops and the security had to escort me to the car, and people were outside. They were actually throwing shit at the cops to try to get to me. It was insane. Evan, what's going on, brother?
Oi, Vinny, what's up, mate?
Chilling, man, chilling.
Yeah. You forgot to mention Victory Pro Wrestling. You forgot to mention when you were talking about Victory Pro Wrestling about the dude that bashed you over the head with a fucking semolina, man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, it was a loaf of bread. It was a loaf of bread.
It was a loaf of bread.
You got your ass kicked by a loaf of bread? What's up with that?
Yep. The deli man. Deli man, yeah. Yep.
No, whose gimmick was the, what the fuck?
Don, if you look up Don Tony, I don't know if you listen to Don Tony and Kevin Castle, but they've had a podcast for years called the Don Tony and Kevin Castle Show. Don Tony was actually Deli Man.
I'll have to look into this.
Yeah, it's in one of the video. I think it's in one of the videos that I sent you on those links, like one of the YouTube links.
I'll check it out.
Yeah.
How are you doing, Evan?
Now, Evan, believe it or not, people, just so you know, Evan Courageous, I actually used to manage him. I used to be his manager in FTW, Fight the World Wrestling.
Oh man. Oh,
So what are guys some of your guys like funnest memories of working together in FTW then?
oh my God, we used to get so much heat. I was afraid somebody was going to call the fire brigade, man. I mean, we used to like the heat that we used to get was just like it was so funny because like I started off as a face, and then they like one of the promoters pulled me aside at one of the shows and was like, "All right, we're gonna partner you up with this guy, right?" And he's like, this guy is basically gonna make you a heel in it. So I was like, all right, cool. So I was getting pointers from different people in the locker room before the show about how to be a heel and this and that. Like, basically you have to make, and you know, basically the promoter was like, yeah, I'm gonna leave you guys to it to like, you know, figure to like sort your shit out. So Vinny was like, oh, listen, you just follow my lead and go with me, and you know, just he's like, follow my body language, follow my energy. I'm like, all right, cool. And the first night we would
Evan, if you remember correctly, I also told you, I said, be prepared to get death threats.
oh yeah. I had people like giving me the like people were actually like when I came out to the ring. It was funny because one show I was like high-fiving people, and then like the next month, the very next show, fucking the same people that I was high-fiving was flipping me off. So it was like I turn around, I'm like, didn't I just fucking high-five you like 30 days ago, and now you're giving me the finger? Like, I just remember there's so many fond memories. I can't even. I mean, I remember like. My debut was in 2009 at an event called Road to Gold, and it was basically a 30-man rumble to determine the number one contender for the FTW World Heavyweight Championship. So they basically said, all right, like, you're going to go in, but you're not going to get eliminated. And they let everybody know, like, you know, hey, listen, like, he's untouchable. Don't touch him. So, and I went in the ring. And thanks to another guy named Jay Lover, Jay Mother Effin' Lover, as he's known, I spent 3/4 of the fucking rumble just getting chopped. I was getting like fucking just chopped to shit. Guys were just coming up to me like pop, pop, pop. And then, you know, it was just, I mean, I was lit. I looked like the fucking Rockefeller Center Christmas tree by the end of the fucking match. And it was like my chest looked like fucking Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Dude, your chest was fucking bleeding, bro.
I had fucking like handprints on my fucking chest that were like fucking. And so the end of the match, like I was in the corner, and it came down to me. I gotta see if I can't remember this. It came down to me, and these two other guys. It was me, Jay Lover, Tommy Buds, and Len Oddity. And I'm basically in the corner, like, you know, trying to get the crowd going, whatever. And Jay does this double, like, Tommy's on the ropes with Len trying to get him over. So here comes Jay Lover, like, out of nowhere, just whoopity-doo, and, like, basically chest bumps Tommy Buds in the back. So all freaking three of them go over. And I'm kind of just sitting there like, what the fuck just happened? And then, like, 2 minutes later, it set in that I won. And it turned into this whole storyline with this one guy that I had the honor and privilege of working with, Big Jim Sullivan. It turned into this storyline where he was banned from the arena, from the event, because he had apparently put his hands on an official the show before. So he comes out and he's like, I'm going to give you two choices, but you're only going to need one, or something like that. And he was like, hand the contract over to me, or I'm going to hurt you. And he basically just gave me a clothesline he clotheslined me, took me out, whatever, gave me his hell driver. And then he's telling the crowd, ladies and gentlemen, because possession is 9/10 of the law, your new number one contender, Big Jim Sullivan. And it's this whole thing where, like, he had the contract for about a month and a half, 2 months, and then at a future show, they put me against him for the contract. I had to wrestle him for the contract. And it was a beautiful thing because FTW legend Chuck Morris, who's a referee, a well-known referee, and he has a history with Big Jim Kane, and he officiated the match. And when it came down to the end, it was like 1, 2, and the referee stopped, looked at Jim, and as Chuck Morris has done thousands of times in the past, flipped him off. And it was so the end of the match was they had me. It was basically kind of like a copycat, like Montreal screw job. I jumped on Big Jim's back, put him in a sleeper hold, and he basically he didn't tap out, but Chuck Morris called for the bell, and then it went on to me and God rest his soul, Balls Mahoney, and I had to wrestle.
Balls is awesome. Balls is did many comic book conventions with him, and
I miss working with Balls.
I don't know if y'all can see it, but if you look somewhere on my forehead here, I'm not sure exactly in this light, I'm not sure where it is, but somewhere on my forehead here, I actually have a 1/4 of an inch deep scar from Balls Mahoney. It's like somewhere on the crease of my brow here. I think it's right. Hold up.
Right above it was right above your finger.
Yeah, I think it's right there.
It's up. No, it's up higher. Right there.
Yeah, it's right. It's right about here. Yeah, I don't know if you could see it in the light, but that came from basically what that was at one point it was like a big bag of fuck 'em up match, which is FTW's equivalent to a hardcore match. We were both given burly sacks, and we didn't know what was in them. So Balls had all kinds of different shit in his bag. I had different. So the match was great. He popped me in the head with one point with an aluminum pan that you cook like a turkey in on Thanksgiving. I popped him in the head with a stop sign. At one point I pulled out a rubber chicken and I'm like, "What the fuck am I supposed to do with this?" And Balls is like, "Shove the beak up my ass. It'll be great."
Because a rubber chicken's the most dangerous
Shove the beak up my ass.
Yeah. He basically was like,
"Don't you know the rubber chicken is the most dangerous weapon known to man, bro?"
Because I'm looking at the chicken and I'm looking at him and I'm like, "Balls, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this?" He's like, "I'm gonna go for the nutcracker sweet. Kick me in the stomach. I'm gonna turn around and be like, oh, and I'm gonna look at the crowd and be like, I don't think I'm gonna have dinner tonight. He kicked me so hard. Oh, as soon as you see me with my back to you, shove the beak of the chicken up my ass. Just ram it as hard as you can." I'm like, "Okay, punk." And he's like selling. He's like, oh, and he's like jumping around the ring. But the way that I got the scar was, and this is a going joke with Vinny and I. He had me in the corner, and he had me backed up into a corner. He had a fork in one hand and, a razor in the other. So as he's stabbing me in the forehead with the fork, he's also blading me. And he comes to me. This is the one thing I will always remember and I will always, always love about Balls Mahoney. So he ended up winning the match, but he comes to the back, comes up to me in the backstage area, gives me the biggest hug he can give me. He's like, "You did great. And I tell you this all the time. I will tell you this till the day I die. You're a good kid and I love you." And he was just, and then he's like, "Stop! Don't check out my friend." And the doctor bandaged me up, everything. But at the end of the night, as everybody's going their own separate ways, Balls is like, "Now you have a story to tell for the rest of your life because you can tell people you got forked by Balls Mahoney."
I can see Balls doing that.
It was the great, and I mean, but there's me and Jake the Snake. I had a storyline with WWE Hall of Fame.
Evan, did I ever tell you the time that I took Balls Mahoney to a titty bar?
Oh my God!
I gotta hear this. What titty bar was it?
Speaking of titty bars,
I took Balls Mahoney to New York City. I took him to Rick's Cabaret because Xavier.
Remember 33rd and 5th, right across from the Empire State Building?
Well, I don't know if you know this or not, but Xavier, God rest his soul, the second Ring of Honor world champion in history, he used to be He used to be the head bouncer over at Rick's Cabaret.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so I used to get in for free like all the time, and they would always put me in the VIP section on the second floor and send the girls up to me. So I brought Balls. I'm like, hey, Balls, you want me to take you to the VIP section at Rick's Cabaret in New York City? He's like, what? He's like, I don't know if my wife's gonna like. I'm like, yeah, just come on. And I was like, we're gonna go. Before he could give me an answer, I basically gave him no choice, and he ended up coming with me. It was pretty fucking funny.
You know what that reminds me of? Do you remember the FTW show that it was, I think, 1 or 2 shows after when you and I were still establishing ourselves as a manager wrestler team? Do you remember what we did to that poor girl, Alana?
Oh, God, yeah, that was hilarious.
All right. How'd you torture this girl, Alana?
She basically came out looking like something you'd find on like 7th Avenue, isn't it? So Vinny makes this Times Square comment. So I'm kind of just like circling the poor girl, like circling her, looking her up and down. So Vinny's like, oh
no. It wasn't Times Square. It was I called her one of those. I called her a $2 hooker from Hunts Point.
From Hunts Point, yeah. And then I
explain to anyone in my audience who's like 25 and under and may not get the Hunts Point reference because they all moved up to Roosevelt Avenue nowadays.
Oh yeah.
Hunts Point used to be what was back in the 90s and early 2000s. What Roosevelt Avenue is today. It basically is the hooker capital of New York City.
Yep,
You want a skanky, disgusting, bottom-feeding twat.
And when I called her that, the whole audience went, "Oh!"
Yeah. And then I looked at Vinny and I said something like, "Well, 42nd Street, Hunts Point, wherever she came from, she's looking pretty good to me." And then I ended up having to basically kayfabe push this security guard. It was the greatest thing. But no, one of my fondest memories of working with Vinny was when I was in a tag team tournament for the
I knew you were going to bring that one up.
I had to. And I didn't have a partner. But the promoters told me, Vinny, that I was to name Vinny as my partner. But they basically did not tell Vinny shit. So Vinny's reaction was genuine. It was on the spot. So Vinny comes out of nowhere. And
it was basically a handicap match.
It ended up being a handicap match. But
yeah,
Vinny,
I was never even tagged in.
I was standing there, and Vinny's like, "EK, you do realize this is a tag team tournament, right?" I'm like, "Right." And he's like, "You do know you need a partner, right?" "Right." "Well, I hope you have one." "I'm so glad you asked. Who's your partner gonna be? Who did you?" "I'm so glad you asked that, Vinny. As a matter of fact, there's an old saying, inquisitive minds want to know. Ladies and gentlemen, the tag team partner for the Monster of Manchester, Evan Courageous, tonight, my right-hand man, the uncrowned king of internet radio, Vinny the Guido." And he's like looking around. He's like, and this got the entire arena fucking cracking, laughing their eyes off. They were crying. They were laughing so hard. Vinny's looking around at all the people, finally looks at me and goes, "I'm not a wrestler. I'm a manager, you idiot." Everybody busted up laughing.
The whole crowd busted up laughing hysterically.
All right, cool. This allowed me to segue into something. Vinny, on you as the king of internet radio.
I completely forgot that I used to have that moniker. It was back when I used to host a podcast. Remember when podcasts first came out? Remember when internet radio first came out? Yep. It was like literally right after satellite radio, and then internet radio came out. That's basically I was doing podcasting before every Tom, Dick, and Harry in their mother's basement was doing it. Like
Once again, like I said before, back when having a podcast actually meant something special.
It was very special because it was the beginning stages of, and the only reason I did internet radio was because I was how do I say this? I was banned by the FCC, and I wasn't allowed on AM/FM dial. To this day, I'm banned for life. I'm not allowed on AM/FM dial ever. Kind of like Howard Stern. Howard Stern is also banned from AM/FM radio. But yeah, I mean, the FCC and I didn't get along, and they basically banned me from ever appearing on AM/FM dial, to the point where if I even so much as make a cameo appearance on AM/FM radio, the station will get a $25,000 fine every time I'm on the air. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Wait, hang on. How does one achieve this mental accomplishment of getting banned from the FCC for life, sirs? How does one,
Oh, if only you knew the things that Vinny and I used to be on this program. It's not on the air anymore, but it used to be. It was a radio show like this, but just on a website. It was called Pushing the Limits Radio, and I made like one appearance, and then Vinny was talking to like the host and the co-host and it basically like I became a regular on the show because of Vinny. And at one point I ended up even hosting certain episodes. I had the pleasure of interviewing like people like Gorgeous George, people like I think I interviewed like I interviewed like so many people on Pushing the Limits Radio. Like the host would actually have me do shows when he wasn't available to do shows.
and here's the thing. During that time, I was a very, very controversial person. I mean, I'm still controversial today, except it's more watered down compared to what it used to be, because we live in a politically correct world now where everybody...
This is where I was trying to get to. Do you feel in today's bullshit, pussified, PC bullshit, cancel pick culture, where as a stand-up comedian and as a commentator, I have no clue what I should say or what I shouldn't say, because God forbid if you offend someone.
Well, that's the thing. Everybody gets butthurt. Everybody has a motherfucking opinion, and I blame social media for that. I mean, the world's become politically correct. Everybody gets butthurt over every little fucking thing. It's the reason I don't do. It's the reason I don't do stand-up.
A shock jock or a comedian is dead at this point.
Well, that's why I used to be a stand-up comedian. I don't do stand-up comedy anymore. I just do pro wrestling. I work. I do acting, and I don't do stand-up comedy anymore. I mean, I have a lot of friends that still own comedy clubs, and they ask me to do sets every now and then. I'm like, I can't. Like, I'll go and I'll support my friends, but I can never get on stage and do stand-up comedy ever again, because everybody gets butthurt over everything now. It's just not worth it.
The stuff we used to do on like I usually tell people, like I come across maybe 2 or 3 people that remember PTL radio, and it's like I was just talking to somebody about this the other day that used to listen to PTL and remembers Vinny and I from PTL. And the person was like, what happened to you and all the guys at PTL? Like, you guys don't broadcast anymore. And it's like, it's not that we don't want to broadcast or do, pushing the limit. It's the fact that it's like the fact that like the kind of jokes that Vinny used to pull on Pushing the Limits radio would probably get our program shut down in today's society.
That's exactly what happened, Evan. I mean, and I used to do. I don't know if you remember the unrated hour. We had Pushing the Limits radio. We had there was so many podcasts because every time somebody wanted to do a podcast, they wanted me as a host. So I was doing like 5 different podcasts a week, and I just couldn't do it anymore. But the main reason is because we kept getting, even though we had a parental advisory warning at the beginning of the show saying how the views and opinions of the show is not the views and opinions of the network. We said we basically said that, we're going to offend you, but you know, like for example, we had the parental advisory warning basically said the following program contains illegally downloaded music, profanity, strong sexual content. The things we say may offend some listeners, but to be frankly honest, we don't care if you listen or not. But listeners' discretion is strongly advised.
That was Pushing the Limits Radio, yeah.
So because we, yes, so because we,
the most honest advisory I've ever heard.
yeah.
You know, I'm just at this point where I'm thinking, because I want to get back to doing stand-up in a club because I miss it. I love I love podcasting. I love making other content, but I miss the adrenaline rush of being in of doing things live in front of my audience.
Well,
I'm just saying, hey, of just becoming a heel stand-up comedian, and if I offend you, then fuck you. Maybe you needed to be offended. I'm just sick of this washed down crap that we call entertainment.
Yeah.
I see it more and more when I watch, say, like, I don't know if you guys are fans of like adult cartoons like South Park or Family Guy.
Oh yeah.
Like,
I mean,
you can tell like what era of the show it's in by how watered down it's gotten over the years.
I mean, Adam, I mean, God help it if you say cocksucker, motherfucker, fuck shit, cunt, cock, pussy, or tits on the radio nowadays. Now, everybody's going to get offended because you said that. It's like,
yeah.
So what? I said cock. Big deal. It's not a big deal.
I could go on a radio program and say something like Jim Cornette is a cocksucking motherfucking big ball bastard, and the radio show would be shut down.
I have to still clip that, so I can send that to Cornette because he's a little bitch who I wrote him a beautiful email. Not to go fuck myself. Not nothing.
And he tries to make himself
seem
like...
Oh, come on. Why do you guys hate Cornette? I like Cornette.
It's just that he could see... I invited him to be a guest on the show. I never got an email back.
Listen, I'm going to tell you right now. Like, I've known Jim... I don't know, Jim... Like, I remember... We did it was a Jim Cornette appreciation night. We did he got an award. We did a ceremony for Jim Cornette. It was in Wilmington, North Carolina. And I remember Jim and I got along great. I mean, I love Jim. Jim was always good to me. You know, we both have, you know, he loved my sense of humor. We both basically agree that pro wrestling isn't really pro wrestling anymore, and it's got, you know, it's pretty much a joke at this point.
How so?
Because back in the day, it used to be pro fucking wrestling. Like, pro wrestling used to be a thing. Then it became sports entertainment and all this other bullshit. And yes, it's entertaining. And don't get me wrong, the Attitude Era was entertaining as fuck. But don't get it twisted. The Attitude Era and the Monday Night Wars, none of that was pro wrestling. It was entertainment, but it wasn't pro wrestling. It really wasn't. So, I mean, pro wrestling was like the territories. Pro wrestling was like the 80s, all the way up until the early 90s, until all of that ruined it. You know? And what I mean by ruined it, I mean ruined pro wrestling as pro wrestling. Like, it was entertaining. It didn't ruin it. Like, I thought the Attitude Era, and I thought that the Monday Night Wars was great, entertainment wise. I loved it, but let's be honest, it wasn't pro wrestling though. You know what I'm saying? And that's where Jim and I we agreed on a lot of that stuff. You know, it was basically a joke of what wrestling became. You know,
Triple WF, NWA.
I mean, think about it. You have to understand, during that time, it was a different time than it is now. The same thing. The reason why it was so controversial. Like, let me explain something to you. The things that I said back then, I didn't even believe in it, but I said it because I knew it was going to piss people off, and I knew people were going to talk about it. Because let's face it, your enemies and the people who hate you pay attention to you more than the people who like you. That's a fact. So, negative publicity is better than good publicity. That's just a fact. I don't like it, but it's a fact. Just look at the news. It's all negative news. all sports, all weather, commercials, ads, and there's like maybe about
You'll get one happy story at the end, just to make
there's like maybe a 2-minute clip of something happy at the end, and they close out the show.
Yeah,
like,
and I mean,
this one got raped, that one got murdered.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest.
Shirley found her doggy, yay!
Exactly, but let's be honest. If the news had nothing but good news in it and very little negative news, nobody would watch the fucking news.
Very true.
Right, and I mean, and bringing it back to when Vinny was talking about death threats. Actually, this just popped into my head, and it's on YouTube, so there's proof of this. There's a wrestler out there named Rhett Titus, whose gimmick used to be he used to call himself Addicted to Love Rhett Titus, and he used to give his hotel room keys out to women in the audience. But something happened. I remember I was watching a video on YouTube of Rhett Titus. Something similar happened to him where, like, there was a show that he was at, and there was this one fan that, like, did not understand gimmick from reality, and he didn't understand that, like, Rhett Titus, giving out his hotel key was his gimmick. So Rhett is told by this security guard that the guy is outside of the arena, like, waiting for him. And Rhett goes outside of the arena. The guy Rhett ended up knocking this guy out because he actually stepped up to Rhett Titus. And it's like, there are disclaimers in most wrestling shows at the very, very beginning of the show. Either the ring announcer, the timekeeper, or somebody backstage will make an announcement and say, ladies and gentlemen, such and such a promotion will not be responsible for a wrestler defending itself from an out-of-control fan. And, like, I used to go to this wrestling show in Gilbertsville, Pennsylvania that was run by a man named Dino Sana. And it was called the Worldwide Wrestling Alliance. They used to do shows at the Zerns Farmers Market in Gilbertsville. And the disclaimer that they used to announce at the beginning of the show was, the Worldwide Wrestling Alliance will not be held responsible for a wrestler defending himself or herself from an out-of-control fan. Any fan found to be unruly or out of control will be escorted out of the arena without a refund. That is a standard disclaimer that is announced at all wrestling shows. So these fans are made aware, like, hey, listen, like, there's a difference between being a plant and having a promotion, like, work with you and say, yeah, like Hulk Hogan versus Grandma, when he pie-faced that grandma, that was a plant, that was a work.
Yep.
But there's a big difference between being handpicked by a promotion to be a plant and taking it upon yourself to try to confront.
And most people should realize this is not 1996 to 1999, and this is not the ECW arena where it was the Wild Wild West. I was in some of those audiences, and that really was the motherfucking Wild Wild West.
ECW was nuts. Look at the Sandman. Look at ECW original Sandman. He would be booked to wrestle a match, right? And his gimmick was he'd come down from the crowd, whatever. I mean, when you look at the Sandman, the motherfucker was busted open and the match hadn't even begun.
Dude, I mean, let me tell you something. I even got stories. I missed, speaking of Sandman, I'm thank God he's still around. At least he's one of the boys who are still around, actually.
He buys comic books from me at comic book conventions when he's booked as a guest. I thought it was hysterical because
dude, I remember
books on my dollar box and goes, my name is Jim. And then 5 minutes later, it's like someone said, the Sandman just bought books from you.
Yep, and let me explain something. I remember when Sandman. I'm talking about like the Frank Goodman shows. I'm talking about like when what was it? I think it was WXW or X. I forget what it was.
Jesus.
It was when USA Pro, when Frank Goodman had the USA Pro shows back on Long Island, and he had his hardcore company too, and I remember when Sandman he used to be. I remember he used to travel with Trent Acid, And
God rest his soul.
Yeah, and I remember because I was friends with Trent. I was friends with Trent Acid when I was greener than shit. Trent Acid.
He stole a cheeseburger from me at a show once.
And also, God rest his soul, also was Billy Real. He was a very, very good friend of mine.
Wait, Billy passed?
Yeah, I miss Billy Real, man. He was a really good dude, man. I miss him. He passed away when I was in jail, actually. He passed away recently when I was in jail. So
I think I heard something about that.
Yeah, I was pissed because I wanted to go to the funeral and I couldn't because I was in jail. But by the way, if you're wondering why I was in jail, I never broke the law. I'm a civil rights activist. So, and I'm still fighting that case in court right now. So,
and we're gonna leave it at that. So, this show doesn't get on YouTube.
No. I'm just saying the reason I was in jail, I never committed a crime, so don't think I'm a criminal. All right?
No. I know why, and if anyone wants to, learn more about that, you can hit Vinny up at Instagram at Vinny the Guido. I just don't feel comfortable having the story shared because.
Oh no! I get it because they'll probably shut down your show because of that. So
YouTube is.
Listen, YouTube. Listen, YouTube. I'm not going to go into detail, so don't worry about it.
Well, shameless.
Back when I start doing shows on Rumble, and since Rumble is the Wild Wild West, we can go full detail there. YouTube is the biggest group of bitches.
Oh, I know.
Shameless plug. Vinny also has a book coming out about it too. Vinny's in the process of
writing a book.
Writing a book about it.
And a documentary too. We're in the process of filming the documentary as we speak.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But anyway, let's change the subject. Whoa, hold on. Let's change the subject now because I don't want him getting his show shut down.
Question for Evan. Evan, your voice sounds familiar. Did you have any involvement with XPW at all?
No, honestly, the only promotion that I was in was FTW.
Okay.
I wish I tried to get into other promotions, but it just for some reason I was never able to get in there.
But anyway, going back to the other subject. But I remember all the times like we would all smoke weed and drink together in the parking lots before the shows and all that shit. It was such a good time back then. But
all right, then let me ask a question that combines that as a civil rights activist, do you think that the war on drugs is the biggest bullshit that this country ever came? One of the biggest pieces of bullshit outside of college education that this country ever came up with?
Well, if you think about it, if you really think about it, marijuana was legal in the United States many years ago.
Until 1939.
Until some prick in the government decided, we're not making money off of this, so let's make it illegal. It had nothing to do with health. It had nothing to do with anything. It's because they weren't making money on it, so they outlawed it. Because let's face it, doctors prescribed it. I mean, I don't know. Me personally, I don't know anyone who's ever died from using marijuana. Do you guys know anyone who's ever died from using marijuana?
Nope.
And doctors prescribe marijuana. Now, here's the shit kicker. Alcohol and tobacco kills millions of people every year. Doctors don't even prescribe tobacco or alcohol, but yet that's legal over the counter and marijuana wasn't for years. They're just finally allowing marijuana to be legal. And the only reason they're doing that is because they're actually taxing it and making money off of it now. But that's the only reason why marijuana is legal now.
And I wouldn't be surprised in our lifetimes if some, dumbass congressman or senator was just like, we're going bankrupt. Let's just, take all the drugs, make them legal, and we can tax out of all this shit too.
I mean, if you haven't noticed, we live in a country full of pussies now. Everybody gets butthurt over every little fucking thing. Everybody gets offended. Everybody gets offended. They're probably going to get offended that I'm saying that they're getting offended. They're probably going to get butthurt by this. I don't give a fuck. But, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, and we wonder why other countries don't respect us anymore. And I can't really blame them. You know, I mean, we used to be a very powerful country, and we're not anymore. Let's just be honest. Yeah, we're still powerful, more powerful than most countries, but we're not the main. We're not the main power anymore. We're just not. And other countries are starting to get wind of this shit, and now they're starting to team up with other countries that have even more power than we do. And I mean, the writing is on the wall, folks. I mean, it's you know,
it may or may not be. The facts may have changed since this was put out. But if anybody wants any reason why America is not the greatest country in the world anymore, you could jump on YouTube and look at Jeff Daniels' rant from a movie called The Newsroom.
TV series.
Oh yeah, actually, I'll even take it back to one of my favorite movies of all time with Ed Beatty called Network. There's a speech about there's no nations anymore. It's just Coca-Cola and AT&T and IBM. We are a world of corporations.
Yeah, pretty much.
I watch that now, and it just chills right up my spine. How true that really is.
You guys have to understand something. You know, if we were to have a civil war today, we would lose. And the reason for that is because we're divided as a country. We're not the United States of America anymore. We are the divided states of America. That's a fact.
We've been there for a long. We've been that way for a long time now.
But you know, it sickens me when people are like, "Oh, we're the United States of America. We're powerful." No, we're not. We're not the United States of America. We are the divided states of America. DSA, not USA.
All right, let me ask this. Let me ask you guys this. How do we, and maybe I'm naive, maybe I read too many comic books, I watch too many movies. What can I say? I'm a fat comic book nerd, recognize. But how do we get this back to where the streets are paved with gold and you can turn any dream into reality, and as long as you bust your ass, you can drop out of high school and become a millionaire type of country. That the stuff I read about back when I was in this place called school, when school actually meant something.
Well, I'm gonna say something that's gonna piss a lot of people off, but I don't vote. I'm not a part of any party. And if I was to be a part of a party, if I had no choice but to, let's just say we live in a communist country and I had to choose. I'm not a part of any party, but if I was, I would probably most likely be a libertarian. Because from what I see, a libertarian is the only party that actually gives a shit about our civil rights. And I'm not just talking about an in particular civil right. I'm talking about all civil rights. Because if you think about it, all of our civil rights are equal. One civil right is not any better than another civil right. Your civil rights isn't any better than somebody else's civil rights. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to understand, you don't have to like people's opinion. You don't have to agree with people's opinion. You don't have to like people you don't have to like any of that. But you do have to respect it. That is the bridge of our foundation of this country, is that everybody has a right to believe and to vote for whoever the fuck they want to vote for.
Case in point, just before election day, we were people were campaigning by my apartment, whatever, and I inadvertently put my hand on a fucking Donald Trump brochure. So I turned to my girlfriend and I was like, I'm like, oh, I got when we get to our apartment, right? When we get back to our flat, the first thing I'm going to do is put hand sanitizer on because I touched something with Donald Trump's name on it. This guy comes out of nowhere and goes, "Oh, that's such a sad comment. That is such a sad comment." And he's saying something like, "Oh, blah 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 blah. Why don't you serve the country like I did?" And did. And so I was like, so I look across the street and he's like following us like across the street, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good." I'm like, "Yeah, do yourself a favor, keep walking that way." And he's like, I'm right here, man. I'm right here. Anytime. I'm like, and I'm thinking in my mind, I'm like, you may not know this, but motherfucker, I'm a former martial artist. I'm a retired professional wrestler. Do you have any idea what I could do to you? So what? You serve so what? You're ex-military, big fucking whoopity do. If I get you in the fucking coquina clutch, you're gonna fucking be going to sleep, right? You better. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he had too many to drink that day, but it's sad. But I mean, I'm like, the whole situation that we're in right now, like, just everything. I mean,
Evan, you have to understand something though. Republicans, Democrats, they're all the same. They're all going to tell you what you want to hear until they get voted in, and then they're going to do what they want anyway. Every time,
bringing this
listen,
back to
every time somebody new gets elected, we lose more of our constitutional rights, regardless of who it is.
And basically, Coke, Pepsi, Democrat, Republican, it's all the same bullshit.
They're all the same. They're all the same.
And while we're on the subject, I was watching this thing that Jesse Ventura put out a while back talking about wealth distribution.
That's what I was trying to reference.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's take a look at this. Case in point, as Jesse Ventura said, case in point, the Walton family that owns Walmart, right? Every single blood member of that family is a billionaire, yet their employees have to be government subsidized by we the taxpayers because they don't earn enough not to be government subsidized. Also, let's say you've got a regular guy, right? This guy goes out, he's working a 40-hour work week, right? The guy's salary is $100 million a year. That's not enough. Like, what more could you possibly need? It's like, and I mean, when the cost of living goes up, you would think the logical response to the cost of living going up is to raise minimum wage. And it's like, when you think, I find myself thinking about this several times a day and trying to come up with an answer. How can somebody who is working for a multi-billion-dollar corporation owned and operated by a multi-billion-dollar family not be earning enough to where they do not have to be government subsidized by we the taxpayers?
Because, Evan, believe it or not, what people don't understand is right now, yes, we are a free country for now. But how much longer is the question? Because, like I said, what people don't understand, they think that we have civil rights, and we do, but we don't have as many civil rights as we once did, like people think we do. And they're blinded by false freedoms and being brainwashed by everybody else. But, like for example, Nassau County, Long Island, they just passed a law not too long ago where it's illegal. Okay, it's illegal to wear a face mask now.
I saw that.
Meanwhile, a few years ago, we were being forced to wear face masks, and now they're
4 years ago. Like, if you don't wear them, you got to play a slamming with Big Bubba in the county.
And it's a huge violation of the First Amendment. If you're in public, then they can't tell you what you can and cannot wear. As long as you're not walking around lewd with your schlong out, then you can wear whatever the fuck you want. It's called freedom of expression, which is under the freedom of speech, under the First Amendment. You can wear whatever you want as long.
Have freedom of speech at this point, when that's all you have to do is say one wrong thing, and it's like,
yeah. Now, if you remember correctly, the whole reason why we won the very first Civil War was because we were actually united. That's why we were the United States of America, because we were united. The government knows that the only way they could beat us is if they divide and conquer, and that's exactly what they're doing. And right now they're winning that. Right now we are so heavily divided. If we were to have a civil war today, we would fucking lose.
And look at the double standards they're putting out. I mean, how can the powers that be say, oh, if a guy walks down the street without a shirt, that's socially acceptable, But all of a sudden, if a woman wants to walk down the street without a shirt on, it's considered indecent exposure, and the woman
Not in New York. Whoa, not in New York City. In New York City, it's actually legal for women to walk around without a shirt and their nipples out, just like men.
Oh shit!
Yeah, I was gonna say I could have sworn, unless a dumbass who is our current mayor changed that.
I mean, granted, not that many people do it, but there are times where women will walk around topless in New York City just to prove a point. So, which, hey, I'm a firm believer in that. They can do that all they want. I have no problem with women walking around topless. I don't know about you guys, but I have no issue with that.
Hey, they were doing it in Times Square for the longest time.
I mean, shit, I have no problem with that.
What about those performers in Times Square that were walking around like that with the body paint on and whatnot?
Yeah, but that's still covering it up, though. Body paint is still covering it up, believe it or not. I'm talking about like they could literally walk around completely topless, just like men, if they wanted to. Yep. But anyway, so
to the benefit
as I was saying,
of society, we are not at all endorsing or condoning your decision to walk around without a shirt. We're not saying go ahead and go out and do that.
Yeah,
shit! Listen, I'm saying go ahead and do that. Shit, I would.
I was going to make an executive decision on behalf of my show. I am endorsing that all the ladies in New York City can walk around as naked as they want, and let the blind people know that you're doing it, please, in some way, shape, or form.
Amen. Yeah. Hey, brother, you can pull off the whole braille thing. You can feel their breasts and be like, listen, I can't see your breasts, but I'm going to feel them, you know?
Because now my luck, I'll do that. That's the day I do that, and that's the first time in my lifetime as a New Yorker that I wind up getting stabbed for the first time.
Jesus.
Listen, you can tell them. You can be like, listen, this isn't sexual harassment. I'm blind. So you start feeling their tension. Be like, okay, you're a woman. I'm like, okay, you're a woman.
It's like you hear, yes, dumb blind fucking fat guy got stabbed. He touched the girl's face.
Just
eyewitness news.
This reminds me of when we was on Pushing the Limits Radio when Vinny used to say, hey, I'm an FBI female body inspector.
Yep. Or female breast inspector. That too.
One of the two, because you used to have this going joke. You would be like, yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. Vinny the Guido is a member of the FBI, and I'm not talking about the stable with Nunzio. I mean, I am an FBI female breast inspector. I remember. I think who was it? Who was it? Was it fucking? It was.
Yeah. It's funny you brought up Nunzio. It's funny you brought up Little Guido from ECW.
Because he was on NXT not too long ago.
No. To this day, and I swear to God, this is true. You could even ask him this. To this day, people still think him and I are related, and we're not.
Oh, Jesus.
I swear.
All right, good. Yeah. Actually, that was in my notes to ask, and I'm glad you brought it up and answered the question yourself.
Yes, people, I swear to God, people go up to him and they ask him if he's related to me, and people come up to me asking if I'm related to him. They do it to this very fucking day.
And I'll tell you, speaking of Vinny the Guido's relations, I'm actually I'm living in New York now, even though I'm fucking British. But so I've been singing since I was like 14 years old. I've been singing professionally, like in bars, and you know I'm on the karaoke scene. So one day I'm in a bar in where the fuck was it? I think it was in Bayside. I think it was
Bayside. Yeah, it was Bayside.
Bourbon Street was the name of it. So I know this woman.
In fact, you knew my aunt, not realizing that I was related to her at the time.
I did not, and I swear I had no prior knowledge of this, but there's this woman that goes to karaoke like once in a while. I'll see her. Her name is Anna. We call her Anna Banana. But I remember I got to talking about she said something about Vinny. So I called Vinny and I'm like, hey, the strangest thing happened to me last night. This woman came up and was, talking to me about you. And I told Vinny, I'm like, I told him, I'm like, yeah, her name was Anna. And Vinny's like, oh yeah, that's my godmother. And I'm like, wait a minute, what?
No, that's my aunt. That's my godmother, and she's my aunt. Yeah, she's my aunt and my godmother.
Yeah, because I showed her a picture and she was like, how do you know my nephew? I'm like, wait a minute, what? And it blew me so the very next day, Vinny gets a phone call from me and I'm like, yo, she's like, I'm gonna fucking kick the shit out of Vinny. He never told me that he knows you, and it just had so Vinny and I concocted this plan without her knowing that Vinny and his fiance Sonny were gonna come to the show one night.
She's my wife. My wife, by the way.
Wife. Oh,
yeah.
I didn't. Last time I checked, it was fiance. But
well, I mean, we're still not legally married. We're spiritually married because we don't believe in the government. So
there you go. Well, yeah. So Vinny and I concoct this plan. So he leaves it up to me. So I tell Anna, hey, listen, you have to be at karaoke such and such a night. And then when he walks in, she looks up, sees him walking in with his wife, and she's like, holy shit! And she said it loud enough that the whole bar freaking heard it, and she was rolling on her ass laughing. And I'm just like, she looks at me and she's looking at me like what do I know about it? And I was just like, surprise.
That's awesome sauce.
Yeah, awesome sauce radio, baby. With Blind Adam. Adam, thank you so much for having us on, by the way. I completely appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. I will find a way to bring you back every so often.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
Because you guys will be the starting members of my whatever, as a former whack packer myself. Back when being a part of the Howard Stern show actually meant something. Back when Howard wasn't a pussy.
I'm down to do this whenever you guys have an episode. So somebody let me know.
Hey, listen. As long as we're allowed to say cocksucker, motherfucker, fuck shit, cunt, cock, pussy, and tits, then I'm all for it. As the famous George Carlin once said, cocksucker, motherfucker, fuck shit, cunt, cock, pussy, and tits.
Yeah, and that's everything I could think of at that moment. And then over the years, I thought he would expand that list every so often.
Yeah.
Red shit, bad shit.
Oh, by the way, before I let you guys go, I want everybody to check out onedivisionpro.com and One Division Pro. They're on all social media platforms. So be sure to check that out. Also check out facebook.com/official Vinny the Guido, Instagram.com/Vinny the Guido. I'm on Twitter, X, but I'm never on it really. But I have a page because my agent back in the day told me, "Oh, you have to get Twitter. Oh, you have to get Twitter." So
that was before Elon motherfucker took it over.
But again, it's x.com/Vinny the Guido, and just feel free if you want to check out my civil rights activist stuff. I'm not going to talk about it here, but if you would like to check out my page, or if you have any questions about law, you could ask me questions on social media, and check everything out there if you want. That's cool. Yeah. And don't forget to check out Sugar. Don't forget to check out Sugar Wafer on all social media platforms, and Tornado the movie on Instagram and X, I believe.
Don't forget his other creation.
Yep. And be sure to check out Blind Adam on all social media platforms, baby. That's right. And make sure you check out every single episode. I want you to check out everything he does. He's a great, funny dude. Again, I appreciate everything, Adam, for having us on. It's been a pleasure. Awesome Sauce Radio. Check that out, everybody. Check out all the episodes.
But as a crappy person who makes a movie, everyone whose movies suck, just know your role and shut up for a minute, man. Man, I just want to say to Vinny the Guido and the Evan Courageous, I thank you guys for being guests. I think you guys put me onto some wrestling promotions. I have not really heard it before, so I'm going to be checking that out. Please, everyone, check out Evan Courageous. his stuff. Just Google Vinny the Guido where he's at. And, yeah, like I said, thank you guys for being guests.
Oh,
I appreciate it, man.
All right, man. So now, when everyone knows, you can check me out at,
Floods wash away.
you know, if my computer shuts the fuck up for a minute. X at the Comic Pimp. Instagram at the Real Blind Adam. And you got mini vids at Blind Adam, eBay at Blind Adam, Whatnot Comic VIP. As always, keep one fist in the gutter, 1 foot in the gold. You don't need sight to have a vision. Love you all, blind on them out. Let's see if I know how to work. Let's see if I can end the show without a man in the chair for once.
Button. Awesome. Button.
And remember, people, others people's misfortune is our entertainment. Good night, everybody.
Clickable. Mainland grouping out of grouping clickable button. Clickable. Blind Adam. Host.
I want to bar.
Off button. Clickable. Clickable button. Pause. Clickable button. Return to clickable button. End stream.
There's end stream.
Outro. Set outro. Not yet, but end stream. But